Okay, today I want to talk about a couple things. One of them is a technique of channeling that I don't think I've talked about too much, which is called direct voice channeling. And another one, if I have time in this video, or otherwise I might start a second video, is a new I think a conscious trance channel that I found. So anyway, the direct voice channeling I read about quite a bit in the books on paranormal research that I've come across, like the Skull Experiment, and I think especially the 40 Years of Psychic Research by Hamlin Garland, and I don't know, off and on. And there's some stuff online, if you dig around you can find it. And one apparently really good direct voice channel was Leslie Flint. And sorry, I don't know exact biography of Leslie Flint or when he was born or died. The recordings that are online, I think, are from the 60s. And apparently there was a couple that knew Leslie Flint that decided to purchase a really good, for the time, a really good state-of-the-art reel-to-reel tape recorder and make some great, as good as possible recordings of this direct voice phenomenon. Now, what is direct voice? And of course, as you know, in conventional types of channeling, you have a channel that goes into trance and lies down and he starts to speak. So the speech centers of his brain are being used to communicate. His mouth is moving, vocal cords are going, etc., etc. And so if like with Edgar Cayce as a deep trance channel, if he has a southern accent, then every entity communicating through him, including his higher self, is going to have a southern accent. That type of thing. Now, of course, it's not necessarily that simple. Like mediums historically have had different personalities that communicate through them, and those personalities can be identified by their differences in accent and things. So Leonora Piper had Fille Nuit, who was apparently this fake French guy that would communicate through her. And I say fake just because people that knew French would try to communicate with him in French, and he didn't seem to know very much French, and his accent was, I don't know, almost like somebody faking a French accent. But you would get that type of thing, I guess. So for direct voice channeling, the difference is the medium isn't speaking, okay? And to verify that, a lot of times they would gag the medium. I'm not sure if that would necessarily work all the time. There was this one medium I was reading about where they had to have a gag with a tube in it so she could exhale. And apparently when she would like exhale in rhythm with the speech or something. But I don't think that's common to all direct voice phenomena. Because in Hamlin Garland's book, 40 Years of Psychic Research, the direct sounds that he heard from one channel were environmental sounds. Like he could they would put a cone over this guy's solar plexus, and you put your ear up to the cone, and you could hear like the sound of distant dogs barking and wind in the trees and stuff, and so it's like a window, kind of a window onto a different place. That's the only account of that kind of sound that I've really heard in direct voice channeling, so could be an anomalous thing and maybe just people are imagining things, or who knows. But normally, direct voice channeling is identified by the voice appearing somewhere next to the medium, like beside their head. Somewhere in space around the medium, you would hear this voice. Now, with trumpet mediums, it would often come out of the trumpet, even if the trumpet was floating around the room. But from what I know of, like Leslie Flint and other more modern direct voice channels, not that I've really encountered that many, but it seems that the voice just appears out of thin air somewhere. However, remember, like with the Skull Experiment, entities were able to imprint messages onto magnetic tape directly. Like they would start a tape going with the microphone disabled, or something. So it's recording nothing, and then the entities would be able to speak into that, and then nobody would hear them until they play the tape back, that kind of a thing. And I mentioned that because in the direct voice recordings from Leslie Flint that I've heard, it almost sounds as if the voice is as much direct, imprinted directly to the tape, because in a lot of the recordings, the sound of the other two individuals asking questions are really muffled, and yet the voice of the person speaking is much more clear. So I'm not sure if that just has to do with their recording process, like if they identified the point in space where the sound was and then put a mic right there or something, but perhaps even that itself would translate into some kind of direct transduction into your transducer in the microphone. So, I don't know. Who knows? But the place where you can get all these, thankfully somebody is putting these up on YouTube, these recordings of Leslie Flint. You can go to youtube.com/GhostRecording, not with an S, just singular, GhostRecording, all one word, and I'll put a link to it or something with this video. But that individual is continuing to put up a bunch of these, and it's just great stuff. Everything from Thomas Jefferson to Chopin to Mahatma Gandhi to, I don't know, just a bunch of other people, and fascinating stuff. It really does sound like the real deal to me, and it's really convincing when you hear these people talk. So if you're at all interested, dive in and check that stuff out. And the other channel that I've recently discovered is due to the fact that Ramston Regolin, who posts the Douglas Cottrell videos and stuff, he just posted a video about just updates about UFOs. That wasn't a Cottrell reading, but based upon some other sites that document the crop circle phenomena, and some new crop circles that have just cropped up, pun intended. But one of these sites was a site called, I'll put a link to this as well, don't worry, thenewgoldenera.co.uk, and this is a page put up by a channel called Matthew Lewin. And I emailed Matthew Lewin and just asked him, what's the deal? How long have you been channeling? Is it just you? Blah, blah, blah. And so apparently he discovered he had the ability to channel in like 2005 and gradually developed it more, and I guess like by 2008 was channeling a number of different entities. So he started putting up a website. I believe it's just the text transcriptions. I don't know if he has any audio or video up there, but from what I've read, I've only read a few of the readings so far. It seems to be right on. Now that he's not a Urantia teaching mission channel or anything, so nobody's using the Urantia lingo or anything like that. But it does seem that they're talking about the same kinds of things from a different perspective. It seems like his cosmology is informed by the Hindu tradition or something. So that kind of terminology is used. I guess I'm starting to get the picture that these people are all talking about the same things. It's just, and that's exactly what the Urantia channels were saying, is that there are lots of other channels, thousands of them functioning around the world now that are cropping up, but they're not going to, a lot of them aren't going to know about the Urantia stuff, so they won't necessarily use that terminology, but they are still channeling the same entities and talking about the same types of things, just with different names and in different terms. So that apparently is happening. This guy apparently is one of them, and it's really cool. He's talking about the coming Earth changes, has a lot of readings about this new technology that we're supposed to be able to develop to replace reliance on fossil fuels and stuff, this energy technology. So yeah, check out Matthew Lewin's site, and check out the direct voice channels, and until then, carry on.